So I'm looking forward to telling you something that happened to me yesterday, but how I want to introduce this is I want to tell you a story. It seems like every time you tune in, I've got a story, but I love stories, as you know. But I want to tell you a story about a boy named Teddy Stallard. He really qualified as the least of these. He didn't like school. His clothes were wrinkled and musty. His hair was never combed. Teddy was totally unfocused. And his teacher didn't like him, even though she said she loved all the students. She didn't really like him. In fact, when she marked his papers, when she put an X on it or an F on his homework, she did it with disdain and with a flare. But she should have known better, because this teacher had all Teddy's records in school. In fact, the first grade has said, Teddy shows promise, but his home situation is very poor. Second grade, he could do better, but his mother is seriously ill. Third grade, Teddy's a good boy, but a slow learner. He gets little help from home. Fourth grade, Teddy is very slow, but well behaved. His father shows no interest in him, and his mother died. His mother died. So Christmas came, and the boys and girls brought presents to the teacher, and they put them on her desk, and they gathered all around her desk. And in that pile of presents was a gift from Teddy Stallard. And the teacher was very surprised that she got this gift from Teddy Stallard, being in the home situation he was. But this gift was wrapped in a brown paper bag, and the bag was all wrinkled, and it was held together with Scotch tape. So Miss Thompson looked at the gift, and on the gift was a black marker that said, "To Miss Thompson, Merry Christmas." So the teacher decided to open the gifts, and she saved Teddy Stallard's for last. And when she opened the gift, out fell a gaudy rhinestone bracelet with half the rhinestones missing, and there was also a bottle of cheap perfume with half the perfume missing. All the boys and girls started to giggle and make fun of Teddy Stallard. So Miss Thompson stopped and put the bracelet on and put some perfume on her wrist and let the boys and girls smell it. Well, the class left and the class was over, and Teddy Stallard decided to stay. And here's what he said. Miss Thompson, my mother's bracelet looks great on you. And her perfume smells real good on you. After Teddy Stallard left, Mrs. Thompson got on her knees and asked God to forgive her. The next day, Mrs. Thompson wasn't a teacher anymore. She was an agent of God, especially for Teddy Stallard. By the end of the year, Teddy was much improved. He caught up with the rest of the class. So when Teddy left the school, she didn't hear from him for a while, but after a while she received a letter, and it said, "Dear Miss Thompson, I wanted you to be the first to know I'll be graduating second in my class. Love, Teddy Stallard." 4 years later, she got another letter from Teddy Stallard that said, "Dear Miss Thompson, I'll be graduating first in my class in the university, and I wanted you to be the first to know." And 4 years later, she received another letter from Teddy Stallard that said, "Dear Miss Thompson, I'm now Theodore Stallard, MD. I'm now a doctor. Can you believe it? I'm getting married on the 27th, and I wanted you to come and sit where my mother would have sat. Dad died, and you're the only family I have now." Miss Thompson went to the wedding and sat where Teddy Stallard's mother would have sat. She deserved it. She became an agent of God, and Teddy Stallard never forgot it. And I think for all of us, we have the least of these in our lives. I was at church yesterday studying, and all of a sudden I heard a knock at the door, and then I heard a knock at the other door. I keep the church locked when I'm in here. And I looked out the window, and there was this old van, old, just beat up van. And some guy was knocking on the door. So I opened the door and I said, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "Sir," he goes, "could you get me some gas? I'm trying to get home. I have my wife and kids in the van, and we don't have enough money to get home." And I was studying this story about Teddy Staller, and I thought, Lord, this is a test. You sent the test right to my door of the least of these. So I said yes, of course, and I met him over at the pump, and he got the pump. I told him how much to put in there, and when he was putting the gas in, he was telling me how sorry he was. And I said, there's no reason to be sorry. We've all been there. We've all been there where we haven't had money for gas or money for this or food or whatever. But the least of these is all around us. And it's important that we recognize the least of these. And I want to read you a scripture out of the Message Bible. Where Jesus made it a point to talk about the least of these. He said, in the Message it says, when he finally arrives, blazing in beauty, and all his angels with him, the Son of Man will take his place on his glorious throne. Then all the nations will be arranged before him, and he will sort the people out, much as a shepherd sorts out sheep and goats, putting sheep on his right and goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, enter, you who are blessed by my Father. Take what's coming to you in the kingdom. It's been ready for you since the world's foundation, and here's why. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was homeless and you gave me a room. I was shivering and you gave me clothes. I was sick and you stopped to visit. I was in prison and you came to me. Then those sheep are going to say, Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or feed you, and thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we ever see you sick or in prison or come to you? Then the king will say, I'm telling you the solemn truth. Whatever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored or the least, that was me. You did it to me. I love the scripture because I think a lot of times we don't even realize how we've done it to the least of these. When we get to heaven, we'll say, well, when did we do these things? And Jesus will say, as you've done it to the least of them, you actually did it to me. He goes on to say, then he will turn to the goats, the ones on his left, and say, get out, worthless goats, you're good for nothing but the fires of hell. And why? Because I was hungry and you gave me no meal. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was homeless and you gave me no bed. I was shivering and you gave me no clothes, sick and in prison, and you never visited me. Then those goats are going to say, Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or homeless or shivering or sick or in prison? It didn't help. He will answer them, I'm telling you the solemn truth. Whenever you failed to do one of these things to someone who has been overlooked or ignored or the least, that was me. You failed to do it to me. Then those goats will be herded to the eternal doom, but the sheep to the eternal reward. There's people out there all around us that need help, especially what our country is going through. There's always an opportunity to help the least of these. As God brings us the least of these to us, what do? Well, we not only meet their physical need, but we give them hope. Hope that keeps us going. Hope that Jesus has done for us. Hope that there'll be a better day ahead of them. And I want to challenge everybody that's watching this YouTube to ask God to send you the least of these. If you notice in Jesus' life, Jesus only did what the Father told him to do. He only heard what the Father told him, was saying to him. Jesus was always around the least of these. May we be a people that bring people hope, that bring people encouragement. May we be a people that that love the least of these. And as I close, I just want to remind you, may you be baptized and drenched in the grace of God. May you be encouraged by this message today. May this be a new day for you today. May your prayers be about, God, send me the least of these, that I may be a representative of you. See, every time we give hope to the least of these, we're really showing Christ in us. Because really that's the truth, isn't it? That not that we want to be us, but we want to be Christ in us so that we follow Christ's example of what the Holy Book says. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.